It's 19:06 GMT. This is Hassan Arouni with Focus on Africa from the BBC World Service. Later in this edition, the head of UNAIDS slams President Museveni after he signs a tough new anti-gay law. But first, Nigeria, where the new president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has taken the oath of office.
I, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, do solemnly swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I will discharge my duties and perform my functions honestly, to the best of my ability and faithfully, in accordance with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the law.
At the age of 71, Mr. Tinubu's shoulders are taking on the challenge of governing Africa's most populous country. Nigeria's 200 million plus population are in dire need of leadership to deal with huge problems, including rampant insecurity, high unemployment, and a growing national debt. So how did the event go? Chris Ewoko is our reporter in Abuja.
Well, Hassan, it's been like a date with destiny for Ahmed Bola Tinubu, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, who took oath of office alongside his running mate, Kashim Shettima, today at the Nigeria's ceremonial Eagle Square in Abuja, and a ceremony that was witnessed by mammoth crowd of people from both Nigeria, including party faithfuls who came in their numbers, members of the diplomatic community, including several heads of states and government within Africa. When he took oath of office, he also promised and pledged to protect the sovereignty of Nigeria, as well as abide by the Nigerian constitution. And in his inaugural speech, like you stated there, Tinubu said that insecurity is going to be his top priority. He also said he's going to remodel the Nigerian economy. Of course, Nigeria is dependent solely, mainly on oil, crude oil, which it exports to and foreign exchange. But this time around, Nigeria has been suffering this incessant lack of fuel. And so Tinubu has said that he's going to remove fuel subsidy, and that is that Nigerians should be expecting that he will also make the economy something that they will all enjoy. One particular thing that Tinubu mentioned while taking the oath of office is the fact that he is going to govern Nigeria by consulting with them, and not that he is going to rule over them probably some making references to some other governments before him.
And you were able to talk to ordinary people, Chris. Give us a feel of what you gathered.
Really, Nigerians are really upbeat. Majority of the people, especially those who attended the event, happy that they are having Tinubu sworn in as president of Nigeria today. Here's some of what they said.
I think he's a little betrayal for Nigeria at the moment. Nigeria is in such a deep rut, and it needs someone that is still strong. Someone that I feel Tinubu is already very, very tired, kind of. And I think he might have a lot of problem trying to drag Nigeria out of the hole it is in at the moment.
We're talking about economy. We're talking about unity of the country and security. And President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is someone who is prepared for the job. Like he said yesterday, he said, "Do not pity me, because I asked for the job and I got it, and I will deliver." And is someone that has a testament that you can testify to, even in Lagos. He ran a mini Nigeria there.
What we have to do is not to be against him. The best thing we have to do is that for us to pray that even though if he have any other intention, God should change his intention to be good intention, so that all of us will benefit as Nigerians by this time.
If you can make the security too tight, bandits, kidnapping, that is the main problem that we have. If you can tackle that one first, we'll be happy with him.
So a sample there of Nigerian voices on the day that Bola Tinubu took the oath of office to become president of Africa's giant. But Chris, there is still the business of the challenge in courts to his legitimacy as elected president. How is that going?
Yeah. Definitely, President Bola Tinubu would be conscious of the fact that his mandate is being challenged. His main opponents, Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party and Peter Obi of the Labour Party, are actually in court, and they are hoping to overturn the result of that election. But despite that, he seems upbeat, and he has taken up the mantle of leadership, and people expect that he would do his best, at least, to lead the country, waiting for the outcome of the petition.
And that was the BBC's Chris Ewoko in Abuja. Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni has signed one of the world's toughest anti-LGBTQ laws. It even includes the death penalty. But his action has drawn swift condemnation, especially from abroad. Leaders of the Global Fund, UNAIDS and PEPFAR signed a joint statement expressing concern about the impact this law could have. The executive director of UNAIDS is Winnie Byanyima, who's herself Ugandan.
It is a sad day for Uganda. This law will put barriers up for people to access life-saving health services. This law will cost lives. This law sets us back in our struggle to end AIDS by 2030, the target that we set as a whole global community.
Besides the LGBTQI groups that you say will be affected, for people who may not be one of those, how does that translate into a threat for they themselves so that they can understand why this is a problem?
It is a problem because with a pandemic, you have to reach everyone for everyone to be safe. You have to reach the last person. The weakest link has to be reached for a pandemic to end. Don't forget, actually, that men who have sex with men are more than just gay men. You have many men who have families, who are married, but who also engage in homosexual relationships. These are transmitting back and forth because there's a higher risk for gay men, and that risk is also transferred to the rest of society because there are people who are bi, and that's a fact. And we're not going to hunt for them and kill them as this law wants. We just have to reach them with services, without judgment. Secondly, this law is a violation of human rights. You have young people especially who no longer see gender as binary, as men and women. They see it as a spectrum. They also see sexuality as fluid. This is a fact that the way young people see sexuality and the way I and people of my generation see it is not quite the same. But this is a case where some old people sitting in a parliament without due consultation of the young generation have laid down the law. This is unjust and it is wrong.
Is this a case of somebody being out of touch, either you in the international community not being in touch with the reality or the sentiments on the ground in Uganda, or the Ugandan government being totally out of sync with world opinion? Who is right in this case?
This law stands in marked contrast to a very positive wave of decriminalization around the world and in Africa. Only in recent years, we've seen Botswana decriminalize, Gabon decriminalize, Angola decriminalize. So Uganda is moving in the opposite direction of other countries. In the Caribbean, people of African descent have been decriminalizing. This is not a case of Uganda being right. This is Uganda going against a global movement towards embracing the rights of sexual minorities who happen to be mostly young people. Secondly, we need to understand that there are cultural wars being fought on our continent. Today, there's a political tension, a geopolitical tension between big powers in the East and the West. And they are playing cultural wars on our continent, instrumentalizing our lives in their own other political struggles. We need not be distracted. The Ugandan parliament is showing that it can be manipulated and it can be obstructionist, running away from the real issue of collapsing services, of poverty that's deepening, of huge inequalities with them paying themselves at the top and leaving policemen, nurses, teachers underpaid, that they are running away from these real issues of addressing inequality and poverty and climate calamity, and now engaging in just some cultural wars that are just an instrument of big powers fighting in Africa.
And that was Winnie Byanyima, who's the executive director of UN AIDS. You're listening to Focus on Africa on the BBC World Service. It's now 1917 GMT, and we have a roundup of other stories making news in Africa with Daniel Dazi.
Thanks, Hassan. In Mozambique, jihadist attacks in the first 4 months of this year have resulted in over 100 deaths. They were sparked off by 53 attacks. This was reported by conflict monitoring organization ACLED. Jose Tembe reports.
75% of these raids and 90% of the deaths occurred in the first 2 months of 2023. According to ACLED, there is a reduction in the number of attacks and deaths compared to the same period last year. The already 5-year-old conflict has claimed altogether more than 4,000 deaths and over 1 million displacement of people.
To Ghana now, where 18 people have been confirmed dead and 32 declared missing after a boat ferrying passengers capsized on the Volta Lake. Favor Nunu reports.
The occupants, according to Ghana's National Disaster Management Organization, were traveling from an illegal mining site to an overbank community in the Bono East region when the boat hit a tree stump. Disaster management officials say the boat was overloaded with sand from the mining pit, stones, mining equipment, and 50 occupants who were returning to their homes to wash the sand in search of gold. A search party by the disaster organization is underway with support from the local people.
And finally, in Guinea, the trial of 11 allegedly responsible men for the 2009 Guinean Security Forces massacre of more than 150 peaceful demonstrators has come to a halt. Lawyers for the defense boycotted proceedings because of alleged non-payments of wages. Alhassan Silla has more.
Spokesman for the aggrieved group of advocates, Mr. Yomba Koroma, said they will only resume court sittings once their demands are met. Lawyer Koroma claims that funds for their payments had been okayed by the international community, notably the European Union. Justice Minister Charles Wright, on the other hand, says the international community has provided no such funds. The government admits that there is a funding problem for the trial, despite it having spent over $50,000 to get the process off the ground last September.
And we say thanks to Daniel Dazi for the African News Roundup there. And at this point, we welcome Nishat Ladia, and she's got the sports headlines.
Yes, thank you, Hassan. Tunisian tennis star Ons Jabeur insists her fitness issues are behind her as she prepares for her first-round match at the French Open on Tuesday. Jabeur, who's battled a calf injury in recent weeks, insists she is now fully fit ahead of her opener against Italian Lucia Bronzetti. Former Cameroon and Arsenal defender Lauren has told the BBC that Spanish authorities should do more to combat racism. It follows the recent abuse suffered by Real Madrid's Vinicius Jr. Lauren, who grew up in Spain, says the system is to blame, not the country. And there's still no comment from the Confederation of African Football following the stampede, which killed one spectator and left several others injured before the first leg of the African Confederation Cup final in Dar es Salaam. Visiting USM Alger of Algeria beat Tanzanian hosts Young Africans 2-1 on Sunday. Now, as we've been hearing today on Focus on Africa, Hassan, it is your very last day on the BBC after a glittering 30-year career. A very sad day for all of us who've worked with you, and a very sad day for all your very loyal listeners, and they've been sharing their views.
Hello, Hassan Arouni. This is Adit Moses from Uganda. So we are going to miss you. I really miss you. We will miss you, the whole world. Thank you. May God bless you wherever you are going, please. But keep on touch and say hello for us, please.
Wow. My name is Amara Alpha Kailam Sierra Leone. 1 month ago, our sister Bura Musro of Nigeria retired from presenting BBC Focus on Africa. And today, our brother of Sierra Leone, Hassan Arouni, will also retire from the same platform. But who will be reading our text messages? Bravo to you guys for the job well done. And I wish you the best. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Hi, BBC Focus in Africa. I'm James Roy Majok from Bantu Town, South Sudan. Just to say thanks to Hassan Arouni for good services he has delivered to all BBC listeners across Africa continent. Hassan, we are really surprised. It is just a matter of a month. Bula Hanan is retirement. And today, I just seen a post on BBC News Africa that you are leaving BBC. And the last 2 years, I see also David Amano has also retired. I really feel sorry for that. Thanks. You go in peace and we remain in peace. Thanks.
Thank you very much, BBC. This is Abbas Hamza from Arua, Uganda. I can't believe it up to now that Hassan Arouni is leaving. The voice still rings in my head as he used to report. But all in all, I wish him all the best in his endeavors. Thank you.
Yes, a snapshot there of the respect and affection that our listeners have for you, Hassan. And a very special day like this calls for a very special colleague to come to the mic. And I'm delighted to say that Bola Mosro is back in the Focus on Africa studio. Bola.
Only briefly, Nishat, because as you say, I couldn't miss a day like today. It's been historic, it's momentous, and it's because of the place that Hassan has in our listeners' hearts, as we've just been hearing, and also in colleagues. Let's hear from some of them.
Legend, steady moving causes.
I'm struggling to pay tribute to Hassan because I don't want to speak in the past tense because he is with us, even if he's leaving the BBC. But let me say that he's been a real mentor to me, not least as far as my work with the BBC is concerned. He has that ability to guide you to do a huge story out of what would appear to be a non-event. And in a country like Sierra Leone, where the political temperature is always high, whether or not elections are in the offing, he has served as my go-to person because probably more than anyone else at the BBC, he knows the reality on the ground here. His love for broadcasting is immense, and his love for humanity, particularly Sierra Leone, is immeasurable. I don't just see him as this consummate broadcaster, but also as a compatriot who so loves Sierra Leone. And I can only hope that he finds something worth doing here so he can return home for good. Thank you for serving Africa.
Hassan, Focus listeners and Focus lovers know you for your meticulous attention to detail, your dedication to them as an audience, a constituency almost. They admire you for your polite persistence, your bursts of humor, your clarity. And those of us who work with you delight in your delicious food, your healing concoctions, and your fabulous sense of fashion. I can't believe I won't see what you're wearing, what you brought, what you're eating, what you're thinking. I will miss you so much. Thank you for everything.
Hassan Arouni, Sierra Leone's proud son, West Africa's encyclopedia, the African prince, the man with a big heart, the journalist and radio presenter extraordinaire. Look, yours was the voice that guided us younger colleagues, the mentor who shared wisdom, and the friend we could confide in on difficult days at work. And you were kind, even when being frank and generous. So as you step into this new chapter of your life, Chief, may it be filled with exciting new experiences and endless happiness. And remember that the bonds we have formed will endure, just as your legacy at the BBC World Service. Thank you for everything, Hassan.
Hassan, I don't know whether to laugh or cry, but I can do both at the same time. You and I have come a long, long, long way. I don't even know if people know that you are my brother from another mother. You're an intelligent, caring, loving person. And when you leave the BBC, you'll be a great asset to yourself and to anyone that you come across. You have brilliant ideas. You can cook a storm and feed a whole village. You are very intelligent. You are creative. You have clothes that you make. Above all else, you are the ultimate professional. BBC would miss a very dedicated, loving, caring worker they ever had. But the good thing is, you and I are brother and sister forever. And we are the three musketeers. Bola, you, and I. My darling brother.
Hi, brother man Hassan. It's sad to hear you're leaving. At the same time, I'm excited for you. They say whenever one chapter closes, it means the opening of yet another exciting chapter. It has been an absolute pleasure working with you over the years. Thank you so much for the love you have shown to me and the rest of the Focus on Africa team. You were one person I always looked up to for feedback, and it's something that you did with regularity. It helped me grow, so I would really miss that. You were also never shy to criticize when you see things were going wrong, so it's yet another attribute that I really admired about you. You were very upfront with people, qualities that are not very common. I would like to wish you all the best in your future endeavors. We will miss you, and thanks for all the lessons. I hope the future will bring all the wishes of your heart. See you on the other side.
Stanley Kwenda there, Hassan, ending those tributes from Stanley, Veronique, Akwesi, Audrey and Umaru, your compatriot. But you're a Pan-Africanist extraordinaire. You're dedicated. You're font of wisdom. But I'm so happy to have called you my brother for the 30 years and the next 30 to come outside of the BBC. Hassan.
Thank you very much, Bola, and thank you to Africa. I love Africa. You say I'm a Pan-African. I am a Pan-African. I'm African through and through. And I've stayed on at the BBC all these years because of Africa and because of the listeners. And it's been a pleasure. It's been a privilege. And I thank you all. I thank all the listeners. I thank the BBC.